Good evening, and welcome to the Gothic Bohemian Salon. I wanted to address a question that had been asked of me, and that is a very serious question, actually, which is what to do if your parents mistreat you or diss you for being goth. Well, as I said in another video, there's not too much that you can do to convince your parents that being goth isn't just a phase. And if they really don't like it, you're probably not going to be able to change their minds. Though if you explain to them that you're not, worshiping Satan or doing drugs or, messing around with the wrong crowd or whatever, and you keep your grades up and you're generally a good kid other than the fact that you are ooky spooky, they might come around eventually. But the word that sticks out with this other question was, what do you do if your parents mistreat you? I don't know exactly what kind of mistreatment you're talking about, but if it's name calling or physical mistreatment of some kind, or unreasonable punishment for things really unreasonable, not just what you think is unreasonable. I mean, if you break a curfew or drink when you're not supposed to, or do things that you're not supposed to, of course your parents are well within their rights to ground you or have you do extra chores or that kind of thing. But mistreatment is another thing altogether. If your parents are physically or emotionally or verbally abusing you, then you need to tell someone. You need to tell a teacher or a friend or a counselor at school or somebody, because mistreatment of that kind is not okay. If your parents are hitting you or beating you, that's really not okay. If they're calling you names, well, for example, my mother called me a stupid shit a lot, and that wasn't okay. It wasn't right. And I was also hit with hands and a belt when I was still living at home. And there were other things going on that were abusive. And none of those things were okay. And if I had had somebody to go to tell, it would have been very good for me to take somebody into my confidence. As it was, I did kind of do that, and I ended up moving out of my parents' house secretly while they were at work when I was 18, about 6 days after my 18th birthday. The only reason I waited 6 days is because one of my parents was sick and they were at home, so I couldn't leave earlier than that. Otherwise I would have been gone the day I turned 18. My parents were abusing me, and it wasn't right, and I had to leave. I had to get away from them. And if your parents are doing those kind of things to you, you need to do something about it. And that means seek out help from somewhere. That doesn't mean take it into your own hands or retaliate in some way. That means talk to a counselor or a parent, another kid's parent, or a teacher, or somebody that you trust. And if the first person doesn't respond to your telling them properly, if they don't respond in a supportive way to you, then find another person to tell. This is really, really important. Now, if your parents are just teasing you about your look, that's a totally different thing, and you need to understand the difference. So be sure that you understand the difference. It's not okay for a parent to call their kid dumb or stupid or ugly or, names like that aren't okay. But if your parent is teasing you in some way, then that's just teasing, and you kind of have to put up with it. Maybe you need to take yourself a little bit less seriously, possibly, and kind of see, honestly, we do dress like, Dracula, for God's sake. It is kind of funny when you think about it. So, you have to kind of take that little bit of teasing in stride, and thank God it's teasing and not, more abusive than that. Anyway, I hope that this has been helpful to a few people. I really feel that it's important to know the difference between just, the stuff that people say to you normally and abuse, actual abuse and mistreatment. And it's really important to get help if you're being mistreated. So I hope that if this is happening to you, that you get some help, and talk to us too here on YouTube. It's good to get it out, and maybe if your parents see it, they'll think twice about doing what they're doing to you. Thank you for joining me at the Gothic Bohemian Salon. Good night.